Hello, we're straight back. This is the same evening as part one. Um, it's now 5 minutes to 2 a.m. um, yay. I so as for what I'm gonna do parts wise for this, I think I'm gonna partially base it off time. Because what I did for Ghost Trick was I tried to do one chapter per video. But you know, Ace Attorney, to be continued, are always like sparse, just sort of whatever. So I'm just gonna kind of wing it. And other than that, the important thing, I guess, I'm not sure how long these games are, both 1 and 2. What I might do is play 1 here at home, and I might leave my mic unmuted whenever my mum happens to pass by, because why not? And then once I'm back at university, maybe play the second game there. We'll see. Yeah. Anyway. So we just got to the first testimony of the game. Here we go. And I've already forgotten everyone's voices. I just went literally for a 5-minute break. Let's see if I can recover. I mean, dude on the right has easy voice because it's just old man voice, like very frail old man voice. Guy on the left, not so easy. I was ingesting a regulation beef steak at the restaurant while having a tactical discussion with the old man.
Myself, I was extolling virtues of a particularly fine golden curio for the military gentleman.
At that precise time, a firearm was discharged. I observed the enemy's actions with my own eyes. The black uniformed varsity cadet fired on the English civilian, and from the back, the cowardly little weasel. Okay, easy contradiction. Number 1 is he was shot in front by the photo. As for why he's mistaken, either that mysterious woman who nobody seems to talk about has, you know, tried to get everybody to shut up, or honestly, right, with so much focus on the black uniform, right, so, okay, let's look at all the characters involved at the restaurant, right? We've got the waiter, these two, which, come on, how can one of these two be the killer if they both can vouch for each other? Then we have the lady, the victim, myself, and Kazuma. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so 1, 2, myself. There's no self-profile in this game, apparently. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people at the restaurant. The black uniformed varsity cadet fired on the English. Oh, I've already read it.
I was on my hands and knees, investigating the whereabouts of my mysteriously absconded precious curio.
Guess that's an old-fashioned word for curiosity, which is interesting.
Well, so you, Sergeant Nosa, actually witnessed the vital moment. You saw the split second when the defendant fired the weapon at the victim.
Yes, sir. Affirmative, sir. That wicked university cadet, sir. The cruel and unforgivable enemy.
What times we live in, when an English gentleman may be assailed in the broad light of day.
But this is ridiculous. I didn't shoot anyone. Is that really true, Yonosuke? Yes, all I did was pick up the gun that I saw lying on the floor. After I said hello to Dr. Watson, I went back to my table and sat drinking some coffee. Then, when I'd finished, I got up from my seat to leave the restaurant, when I noticed an English-made gun next to the chair where the professor was sitting. I want to listen to this. Ooh. I thought perhaps the professor had dropped it. So I bent down, and just as I was picking it up, this is is this Kitagawa or Mr. Maeba? Ooh! Bang! Okay, so he picked it up and then a different gun shot him. Well, if that is the truth, there was obviously a criminal on the scene somewhere. Okay. And somewhere in those two witnesses' testimonies, there's a clue as to who that criminal was. Think, right? Ooh, this is such a good theme, holy shit. So thinking, right? If we believe Sergeant, yes or no, sir, then Ryunosuke was behind the victim. But the victim was shot from in front. So, as we are the defendant and we know what happened, the killer was there at the scene. There is! Ryunosuke, you must exercise your right to cross-examine the witness. Cross-examine? Do it now.
As we have heard, Your Excellency, there is no room for doubt in the testimony of these witnesses. The defendant is clearly guilty. It is time to bring this despicable student to justice.
Certainly, the testimony the court has just heard eliminates any vestige of doubt. Therefore, it is my grave duty to declare the verdict in this trial.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
What in the name of the Emperor is the meaning of this outburst?
I mean, the defense demands its right to a cross-examination.
Dear me, dear me. Let me guess. The Hachimaki headband boy next door told me to do it. How pathetic.
Huh? How did he know?
The prosecution objects. This is a clear waste of time. The defendant obviously has no experience. How can he possibly carry out a cross-examination?
Objection!
Objection! The defense is asserting its right to a cross-examination. Whether or not you think he's capable of it is irrelevant. Ooh. Kazuma is so commanding.
Very well. Let the defense conduct a cross-examination of the witness.
Every time I hear Kazuma's objection, I get his voice right. But, like, I can't just press a button and hear it on command. Alright, this is where the battle really begins now, Ryunosuke. But I don't even know what to do in a cross-examination. Isn't it obvious? You have to expose the lies in the witness's statements. How? You didn't fire the gun, which means that what that soldier said has to be a lie. Well, yes, but it's just a case of proving it. The key to doing that is evidence. Right, evidence. Oh, I'm getting their voices back to front. All you need to do is present some decisive and indisputable evidence that proves the witness is lying. That's the Phoenix voice. Don't give him the fucking Phoenix voice, Alex. Now, let's go, Ryunosuke. Don't let them beat you. Oh, that's cute. The desk slap. All right then. It's all or nothing. What the witnesses saw. I was ingesting a regulation beef steak at the restaurant while having a tactical discussion with the old man. Yes! Oh, yes! When are we going to learn the parlance? Why? Why aren't you saying anything? Is this some new interrogation technique? I hadn't actually thought of what I wanted to ask. Just ask about anything that catches your attention, anything that bothers you. Alright then, this beef steak you mentioned, what kind of food is that? Attention! Beef steak is a delicious cut of veal, vigorously cooked on a cast iron grill and served piping hot. Oh. It is food. If food could receive medals of honor, beef steak would be almost as highly decorated as a cutlet. Right, I see. Thank you, sir. So, next question. This cutlet you mentioned, what kind of food is that? Attention! Cutlet is a delicious cut of veal, tossed in breadcrumbs and deep fried in cooking oil. Accept your guilty verdict, atone for your crimes, and when you're released from prison, try it. Yes, sir. I will, sir. On the double, sir. Sorry to interrupt, but how about trying to stick to questions that are relevant to the case? Oops, sorry. I'll do my best. So, next question. Is it just me, or do you keep hearing a sort of wah crying? Negative. Well, at least we've learned that he's a big beef lover. Affirmative. It's not easy knowing what questions to ask.
Myself, I was extolling the virtues of a particularly fine golden curio to the military gentleman.
Yes! Yes. I have no idea what you're talking about.
A Koban boy.
A Koban? You mean an old Edo coin? Edo is the old name for Tokyo when it was a fishing village.
The day prior to the incident, a treasure of exceptional value from the Hoei period entered my possession. I took myself to the restaurant the following day, with said item secreted in my bosom pocket, in the hope of an affluent cognoscente appraised of its indisputable value being present.
So, you were helping to sell your Koban coin to Sergeant Nosa, whom you met at the restaurant?
Yes, it's quite clear where you're going with this boy. You were about to assert that a penniless soldier would have no hope of purchasing a precious Koban. Isn't that so?
Well... You little upstart cadet. You want to add disrespecting a superior officer to your list of crimes, do you? Blatant subordination. No, I didn't say anything. Although penniless might just be the word I was looking for.
In any case, the hour was already advanced beyond that of the midday luncheon. There remained precious few present with whom I could engage in discourse about matters of business. The gentleman beside me, who was grappling with his raised veal at the time, was my sole prospect.
see. At that precise moment, a firearm was discharged. I observed the enemy's actions with my own eyes.
Yes!
Yes. So, you're saying that you actually saw me at that time? Affirmative. I saw you. Laughing, cackling, like a madman as you trained the barrel of your gun on the English civilian. But that's impossible. I only... Allow me to confirm on just one point, please. What's that, Private? Dude, voices. Holy shit. Thinking carefully about the statement you just made, it seems to me that it must have been just after you heard the gunshot that you looked over to the victim's table. And so what if it was? Well, if that really is the case, it would mean that you didn't in fact see the precise moment when the killer actually fired the gun. And double My sixth sense. My sixth sense. Sorry. My sixth sense of danger. I picked up the waves of murderous energy radiating from your foul mind. Which means, a split second before you pulled the trigger, I was looking right at you, Cadet. Surely that's not really possible, is it? Do you think I've gotten to where I am today in the army if I couldn't sense danger in the air, son? Well, it would seem this soldier is absolutely convinced that he saw you do the deed. This is not good. The black uniformed varsity cadet fired on the English civilian, and from the back, the cowardly little weasel.
Yes!
So this black uniformed university cadet, you're saying that was... I've heard just about enough of your source, Cadet. Who else around here is in black uniform, Well, there's someone standing right next to me who fits the description as well, but... It was you, little weasel. You unloaded the firearm on that man. From behind his back. And you call yourself a citizen of the great empire of Nippon. You disgust me. What is it, Ryunosuke? I'm not quite sure. It's something that the sergeant just said, but I can't put my finger on it. Something's playing on my mind. In that case, check back over the details of evidence that you've gathered in the court record. If you find an inconsistency there with what the witness just said, then don't hold back. Present that evidence to the court, thrust it in the witness's face, and make him choke on it.
I was on my hands and knees, investigating the whereabouts of my mysteriously absconded precious curio.
So he lost his Kubon coin.
Yes!
On your hands and knees. Could you explain that, please?
That's right. Burning the arthritis I was, in order to retrieve the lost piece.
What lost piece are you referring to?
The Koban, of course. The exquisite Hoi-era Koban coin. I had just been showing the rare treasure to the military man as he masticated his meal. After averting my eyes at the very briefest of moments, it was there no more. It simply vanished. The Koban vanished. Hence I began to acquaint myself with the intricacies of the floor in order to locate it, and then it happened.
You heard the gunshot, you mean?
None other than, it was though it was no concern of mine. I was frantically scouring the floor for the aforementioned lost treasure.
So in fact, You didn't actually witness the precise moment when the incident occurred.
Indeed. Myself, I did not.
I have no idea what I'm supposed to do here. Let's check the evidence now. So I know it's going to be the photo, but... That last note was professional. Listen, Unosuke. We know there are lies lurking in these statements. It's time to expose them. Understand that. The question is how? Like I said before, the key to this is using evidence that you've collected. You can examine and present evidence while a witness is giving testimony. Pressing E. E. Go through each witness statement and the details about each piece of evidence and compare all the facts. Somewhere in there, you'll find something that doesn't add up. In other words, an inconsistency. An inconsistency! When you find a statement and a piece of evidence that seem to contradict one another. Present your evidence with R and rip the witness apart. Just be careful, because if you assert a contradiction that has no basis, you'll be given a penalty. If you're dealt too many penalties, the defense's case will fall apart, and you'll receive a guilty verdict. So that's it. Peruse the evidence in the court record and find an inconsistency with the witness's statement. Alright, I'll give it a try. You can hear the witness's statements over and over again as many times as you like. So keep your head and be measured in your attack. Good luck, pal. Shot in the right lung. Yes! What? What are you playing at, cadet? What is the meaning of this subordination? Thrusting some photographic print in my moustache. Inconsistency, sir. I mean, yes. There's a clear inconsistency here.
Phew, what nonsense. What can this print possibly tell us, what we don't already know?
Well, obviously, that, know what I want to say, the words just won't come out of my mouth. Objection. The objection, that's what you need to say, sir.
I think this proves beyond any doubt, Your Excellency, that there is no place for an amateur student here in the Grand Courtroom.
This is so frustrating. Oh, please. Surely this doesn't require an explanation. It couldn't be more plain. To spell it out would be an insult to the court. Kazuma, what?
What are you talking about?
It's apparent from a single glance at the photographic print presented by the defense that there's a clear discrepancy here with the sergeant's statement.
What?
Sergeant, yes, I know, sir. Yes, sir. What, sir? The statement you just made was this. The black uniformed varsity cadet fired on the English civilian, and from the back, the cowardly little weasel. Yes, sir. Affirmative, sir. I witnessed the crime with my own military-grade eyes, sir.
Yes!
Yes. But no, that just can't be. And why not, cadet? Because... Take a close look at the print. The victim, Dr. Wilson, died from a bullet wound to the chest. Sergeant, according to your witness statement, the culprit shot the victim from behind. And that is the obvious discrepancy here. Well, how do you explain it? Ooh, What the? What was that? Something just popped up from behind his back, and he pushed it down again. Certainly, there is a clear discrepancy with the facts here. Would you not agree, Sergeant No, sir? Yes, sir. At this juncture, that would appear to be indisputable. Until the moment I heard the fire alarm discharge, my eyes were firmly fixed on the delicious Le Carnival steak, sir.
What?
The last testimony the court heard has proven one thing beyond reasonable doubt. This witness, Sergeant Yes sir, No sir, did not see the defendant firing a gun at all.
That's absurd.
I think the conclusion we must draw is simple. There is no place for an amateur prosecutor here in this grand courtroom.
Yeah.
There's been a complete turnabout in the mood of this trial, just from that one discrepancy. So this is what being an ace attorney is all about. But I definitely saw him. That university cadet there. He was pointing a firearm directly at the victim's back.
Yes!
Yes. Just checking the stream was working. But I never fired the gun. All I did was pick it up off the floor. And you, old man, you didn't see the moment the victim was shot either.
Myself, I have already been quite clear. The gunshot interested me not. I was far too busy on the floor.
Is he rhyming? Oh yes, you were looking for your Koban coin, weren't you?
Indeed, that prized Hoei-era Kaban. Hunting around under the table, I was, in case mayhap it had fallen there. And then it happened. Boom.
You heard the gunshot, you mean?
Indeed I did, but I heeded it not, for I was concerned only with finding my absconded Hoei treasure. Nothing could distract me.
Out of interest, did you find the coin in the end?
No,
I see.
that lamentable day, the precious Hoei Kaban was lost to me. No doubt, some unscrupulous scoundrel pocketed the prize coin for himself.
As I'm sure everyone present is aware, this case demands a swift, decisive resolution. Our government has promised to send a full report to Great Britain by telegraph this very afternoon. Nevertheless, the witness testimony the court has just heard was inconclusive. No matter how subservient our government feels it must be to the British, it would be unforgivable to deliver a verdict on this trial right now.
What is your position, Prosecutor Ouchie?
Worry not, Your Excellency. Worry not, Your Excellency. The defendant may have fled like a tiger. Fled a tiger at the front gate, but he will find a wolf at the back. My witness have further testimony to make.
Explain.
Upon hearing their next statements, it will become abundantly clear that there is only one person who could have possibly committed this despicable crime. The equally despicable defendant, Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
What? He really seems to have a despicable opinion of you, doesn't he? Very well. The court invites the witnesses to testify again. You will thoroughly explain the reasoning behind the prosecution's allegation. Is that clear?
As clear as Kyoko glass, Your Excellency.
Yes, sir. At once, sir. And awaiting signal to testify, sir. Excuse me, but there's something or someone peeking out over your shoulder, I think. Affirmative. The newest member of the Nosa family to rise up through the ranks, sir. Name, Ido. It would seem those straps are the sign of the sergeant being too strapped to afford a nanny. Ido, attention! Your father is about to quell the enemy. Watch and learn, my boy. True culprit. Even if what I saw wasn't the precise moment of the firearm being discharged, it's almost the same thing.
Yes, pointing his gun at the foreign man, he was that young lad in black. That much I myself did see.
Furthermore, a visual search of the premises at that time confirmed that we were the only personnel present.
Indeed, alone he was, the Englishman, dining all by himself.
Therefore, no one other than the black uniformed cadet could have dispatched the Englishman. Over and out. Okay, so being in a restaurant and shit, I missed the line of dialogue. These testimonies certainly are compelling. I mean, it has similarities to a certain Trials and Tribulations Case 3, which took place in a restaurant with some table and a witness of something that literally makes no sense because there's somebody missing from the scene who should have been there. Would it be a Shu Takumi thing to use that same twist again? But it was a setup that took place at a different time. That's going to be the point that we're eventually going to get to, is we're going to ask them what time this was, and they're going to say, like, oh yeah, it was like 1 p.m, no big deal. So, it could be that. Or, Takumi, Mr. Takumi-san, Mr. I don't know. Shu Takumi could throw a wrench in here and have it be a different solution. Ah. Okay, everything's still working. Wait, that's nonsense. The victim, Dr. Watson, wasn't alone at all.
Please, enough of these outbursts already.
There was a woman. A young woman at his table. You must have seen her. Everyone there must have seen her.
Objection!
Objection! If you call yourself a lawyer, then you will respect the rules of the court and speak accordingly. We are not here to listen to your fantasies.
Ugh.
It is evident beyond all reasonable doubt that the victim was alone at the time of the incident. The prosecution has photographic evidence of this fact.
Is that a photograph print of the scene of the crime, Counsel?
Indeed, of the table which the victim was dining, taken by an investigator immediately after the incident. As can plainly be seen, there is only one place set.
Certainly, based on the appearance of this print, it would be reasonable to conclude that it was not in the company of anybody else.
This doesn't make any sense.
The court will add this new photographic evidence to the record.
I don't understand. What's going on here? It's just not possible that nobody else saw that woman. The waiter before said the same thing. He maintains that Dr. Wilson came to the restaurant alone as well. But that's not true. I saw her. I swear that I saw a woman with him.
Seem that we'll be able to telegraph the report to Great Britain on time after all. The witnesses' testimonies we've just heard leave no further room for doubt.
These are very sensitive political times, as we all know. The ink is still fresh on the treaty with Great Britain. To think that I, Taketsuchi Aoshi, will have contributed to the amity of these two great empires is an honor.
How can this be happening? The judge is ready to rule. Stand tall, Ryunosuke. It's not over yet. What? If what you say is true, then there's something going on here behind the scenes. And now is your chance to expose it, to draw out the truth in your cross-examination. I don't know, Kazuma.
The defense is entitled to cross-examine the witness, but make it quick. Understood?
Sis, rules can be so unbending at times.
Dun, 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 dun.
Even if what I saw was...
Okay, just press.
Yes!
Yes! No, it's not the same thing at all. For a start, I didn't fire that gun.
We have a difference of opinion on that. The opinion of an uninformed officer versus that of a fledgling cadet.
I don't think so.
Consider this, defendant. Just a moment ago, I blinked.
Did you?
Did you see it? Did you see me blink?
How could I?
And yet, it is an undeniable fact that I did blink. So there you have it.
Have what?
Attention! The sound of the firearm rang in my ears. In the very next moment, I saw you waving the gun at the Englishman.
I think that says it all, don't you?
Urgh.
Let us not forget that the antiques dealer witnessed the accused in this most incriminating position as well. Isn't that so, Korekuchi-san? Yes, pointing his gun at the foreign man, he was that young lad in black. That much I myself did see.
Yes!
Yes. Yes, it may be true that I was holding the gun at that point in time. But I've told you already, that's only because I picked it up off the floor.
Well, obviously, as the culprit, that's the only way you could explain it away.
I'd just finished drinking my coffee, and I was about to leave the restaurant when I noticed a gun on the floor at Dr. Wilson's feet, so I picked it up. And at exactly that moment,
I just realised, okay, the way that this game uses its flashbacks is slightly different from, say, Apologistus. Because in Apologistus, we would have like a whole visualization of what it looked like. But because this is supposed to be set in the past, it's, you know, we're using words and words only, which is interesting.
Full of events beyond our control, life is.
sorry, what do you mean?
In your case, you found a pistol on the floor and picked it up, which precipitated this testing predicament result. Whereas conversely, I failed to pick up the caban from the floor and find myself in an equally testing predicament as a result.
I fail to see how these two situations are alike.
Anyway, the fact remains, myself, I did see you, with pistol in hand, standing over the foreigner.
Furthermore, a visual search of the premises at the time confirmed that we were the only person not present.
Yes!
Yet, you must have noticed someone else at Dr. Wilson's table. There was a lady there.
Objection!
Objection! As you have been at pains to point out time and time again, I feel I'm growing callous in my ear. And yet, no one else appears to have caught even a glimpse of this woman.
Ugh. If only there had been more people dining there at the time, then someone else would have noticed her. Unfortunately, it was already past 2 p.m. when it happened. A quiet time between lunch and dinner in any restaurant. No, of course the place was almost empty. It's what you'd expect. Certainly, 2 p.m. is neither here nor there in terms of a time to eat. I wonder if there was a reason why the victim was eating at that time of day, and why he was alone.
Yes, Your Excellency, there was indeed a reason.
Oh, we're getting more evidence, yay.
There was.
This was found in the victim's jacket pocket.
What is that, Counsel?
It is a medical report card, Your Excellency. It would seem the victim had an appointment at a clinic prior to visiting the restaurant.
What a clinic. Yes, there would indeed appear to be the date in question.
Otter Clinic. Oh wow, what a great character to reference from the trilogy.
19th November, noon to past 1 p.m. The very day of the incident.
So the victim went for a late lunch following his appointment. The explanation couldn't be more simple. The prosecution felt no need to submit this evidence before, as it really has no bearing on this case.
I wonder. What do you think, Ryunosuke? Well, it is hard to see how it could be related, really. Remember, you can request for it to be entered into the court record as evidence if you think it could be useful. Should I ask for Dr. Wilson's medical report card to be submitted as evidence or not?
Yes!
Yes! If I may, I'd like to ask for that medical report card to be submitted as evidence, Your Excellency.
On what grounds? The court has already heard conclusive witness testimony. Additional evidence would be extraneous. Not to mention that the victim's movements prior to his arrival at the restaurant are of no concern.
Objection!
Objection! Whether or not they're of no concern is up to us to decide. We have a right to explore all possible avenues.
I beg your pardon.
You have no authority to refuse a perfectly valid request for submission of evidence. Very well. The court will grant the defense's request.
Tusk! Youngsters these days are forever asserting their rights. It's a most disturbing trend.
Officer, kindly add the victim's medical report card to the court record. What we need right now is new clues. We have to explore things from every possible angle, even if they don't seem relevant at first.
Maybe the table he's sitting at is important. Why can't I examine this? Really annoying.
Right, I hear you.
You can conspire to prolong this trial as much as you like, but it's the day after the festival already for you.
I guess that's just a Japanese phrase, day after the festival.
Or perhaps you'd forgotten that these witnesses' testimonies leave no room for doubt. Feel free to reiterate for the accused, Korekata-san.
Excellent work, Ryunosuke. Gleaned some new information now. Well, yes, but I don't feel like it changes much. I can't see that it brings any real discrepancies to light. I wouldn't be so sure. Let me see that medical report card you got before. Oh, you mean this? Yes, this is a brand new piece of evidence. So perhaps we should examine it in a little more detail. How exactly? You'll notice that some pieces of evidence bear a magnifying glass. These are the ones you may examine. Press space and you can take a closer look at the piece in question. Use the arrow keys to rotate the evidence in all directions and examine it from all angles by using WASD. You can move the crosshairs around to hunt for clues that may have been missed before. The crosshairs start to pulsate. Press space to investigate further. So, partner, I think you should take a closer look at this medical report card. See if there isn't something new to be learned by examining it in more detail. Alright, I'll see what I can do. Need to use arrow keys, WASD, and space to inspect any areas of evidence that look suspicious. Oh. At least it tells me the translation. Mr. John Wilson, not Dr. John Wilson. Interesting. Potter Clinic. And then this bit that's peeled. It says Hotter Clinic on this medical report card. I hate clinics almost as much as I hate hospitals and surgeries. Aren't they all the same? When I was 5, I caught the only cold I've ever had in my life. And I remember, even though I felt awful already, I had to have this hideous injection in my right arm. Brr. Forget it. Never in my whole life. Most people would give their right arm to have only... Most people would give their right arm to only have had one cold in their whole life. Anyway, I don't think this is a clinic where they treat people for illnesses like that. Let's keep looking for clues. We don't want to miss anything. Dentist. It looks like this medical report card was first issued quite some time ago. It's
Probably a record of a long-term treatment, that's why. The family doctor, I imagine. I can't imagine. Going to the doctor, I mean. As long as I'm alive, I'm never consulting one. If you were dead, there'd be no point. So you don't like doctors, then? Why would you? They make you drink horrible-tasting medicine, and they give you painful injections. And then they demand lots of money from you for the privilege, all when you're at your lowest ebb. You sound like a modern patient. A bad case of stubbornness, no less, for which the only cure is a very bitter medicine indeed. Let's have a look. So this is some kind of medical history. Ah, and there's an entry for the day the professor was killed. Extraction of molar with topical anesthesia. Extraction of molar? You mean he had a tooth taken out? Seems so. Just before the incident, he had a bad tooth removed. And how was he eating steak? Perhaps they used laughing gas. That's the most modern practice in the West for pain relief. Yes, I've heard of this anesthesia, although it's hard to believe there's anything that can actually stop you feeling pain. Ah, there's a cautionary note from the medical practitioner as well. Strictly no food or drink besides water for 3 hours post-procedure, until anesthetic effects have passed. Really? Sounds like information worth bearing in mind. The meaning of that one particular statement totally changes. Aha! So there was 2 people at the table, the woman was eating and he was sitting there with nothing. Very clever. Definitely.
Yes!
Can I skip text? A to go back. U to press.
Yes! Yes! Objection!
Okay, sure. Ah.
Indeed, alone he was, the Englishman, dining all by himself.
So you actually saw that with your own eyes, did you? The victim, Dr. Watson, dining alone.
That I did. Forgive me for the position I place you in. Though the testimonies of the old man, the soldier, and the waiter all agree on that point, isn't that interesting? And let us not forget the incontestable evidence that we have to support their statements as well. As can clearly be seen, there is only a single beef steak on the victim's table. Meal for one.
No! The antiques dealer, the sergeant, and the waiter who testified before. It's not impossible that they're all lying. If so, why?
perfectly honest, I have absolutely no idea.
Yes!
Yes! Why aren't you telling the truth? What did you say, Cadet? Clearly remember. There was a woman sitting across the table from the professor. Perhaps one of you might not have noticed, but for both of you to have failed to see the professor's dining companion, it's just not possible. Unfortunately for you, Defendant Naruto, not just a case of these two witnesses alone. Sorry? The waiter, whose testimony the court heard earlier, clearly stated the same thing. He also said the victim was alone, but he was an unsworn witness. That's right!
Precisely. In other words, you are the sole proponent of this phantom lady.
But I...
If such a woman were indeed present at the scene, the prosecution demands to see the proof. If no such proof exists, the prosecution demands no further mention of this phantom woman be made. It is a blatant waste of the court's time.
There's nothing I can say to that. Well done, Rinosuke. We have even more to go on now. And I still don't feel like this situation has really changed, though. No discrepancies have come to light, and that's what we need. Oh, I think this situation has changed a great deal. We've come a long way. How so? Because we have just what we need. It's simply a case of using it to our advantage now. Then, do you mean there is a discrepancy somewhere? The crucial point is, the victim has been prohibited from consuming anything but water when he was shot. This fact has not yet been brought to the court's attention. He's right. Thinking about Dr. Wilson's circumstances at the time of the incident, puts a particular statement in a totally different light. Totally different light. Always keep your eye on the progress of the battle. That's the only sure way to win. Kazuma, your voice is annoying as well. Press R.
Yes!
Yes! When is he going to start using real speech bubbles?
Well, I think,
About what are you wittering, lad? Call yourself a lawyer?
Wish I could. But first and foremost here, I'm the accused. Ryunosuke. Everyone stumbles on their words occasionally. Under the circumstances, I wouldn't worry about it. Thanks, Kazuma. I could see it quite clearly in that cross-examination you just carried out. When you raised your hand straight up like that, so purposefully, you know exactly what you wanted to say. Don't feel like you have to choose your words carefully. Just say what you're thinking. All right. Thanks for the advice.
He's going to make his own objection.
Korekata-san, this is a medical report card belonging to the victim.
I see, and I don't see. What of it, boy?
Comparing what is written on the report card with your witness statement. Slap. Something clearly doesn't add up.
Objection!
Objection! Dear me, have you forgotten my words so soon, you amateur?
Sorry, what?
You are not to interrupt court proceedings with your amateurish drivel. Amateurish drivel.
But
Let's see if I can explain the words in words you might understand. It was after 2 p.m. in the afternoon when the victim was murdered at the restaurant. Whatever he may or may not have done before that time is completely irrelevant.
But that's... Remember, Yunosuke, you don't have to use clever language or fancy words. Just make your point.
Your Excellency, I believe we're finished here. There's surely no need to further prolong this trial. The witness testimonies in the court we have heard have been clear and concise. This medical report card has no bearing on the matter at all, for the simple reason that there is no one else besides that pale-faced pupil who claims that there was a woman there.
He actually desk slammed. This medical report card has nothing to do with the case? Do you really believe that?
What? That outburst half petrified me, boy. Of course I believe it. How could I possibly be relevant?
Perhaps because Hotter Clinic, which issued the report card, is a dental clinic.
A dental clinic? That's supposed to mean something to me.
Perhaps if I told you that the victim had just had a tooth extracted?
What's this now?
And furthermore, if I told you that as a result, the victim had been forbidden from eating? Just what are you trying to say, Cadet? He had orders not to eat, so what? It's all written up in here. No food or drink other than water for 3 hours post-procedure while anesthesia wears off.
What? No, that can't.
Korekata-san.
What, boy? What?
As you just heard, when he was killed, sometime shortly after 2 p.m., the victim couldn't have been eating anything at all.
No.
Additionally, there's more. You have assured the court with unwavering self-confidence that the victim was dining alone. That cannot possibly be the case. Urgh. Because the victim, as we now know, had just had one of his teeth extracted and was still experiencing the effects of the anesthetic. Expertly done, partner. The lead.
Objection!
Objection! What is this nonsense, you little upstart? These are baseless accusations. Just look at the photographic evidence. You can clearly see the plate of food at the victim's table.
Objection!
Objection! Use your head. That's the very discrepancy we're talking about. Or can't you follow the logic?
How? How dare you?
I think it's fair to say the tables in this restaurant case have turned. Wouldn't you agree, Ryunosuke? Yes, most definitely. So having just undergone some dental surgery, the victim was unable to eat. Which leaves one very crucial conundrum. Who, in fact, was eating the pictured beef steak? The court will hear the opinion of the defense on this new puzzle. I assume you're ready, counsel. Counsel? Oh, that means me, doesn't it? Alright, the answer to this question is going to be pivotal. This is the start of you turning this trial around. Show them what you're made of. Got it. So, the person eating steak at the victim's table must have been...
I want to make a mistake though, just because it's funny. Please don't give me a penalty for this. Me!
Yes!
Yes! I think it may have been me.
What?
Objection!
Objection! It's not enough that you took the man's life, but you took his meal as well. That's a bee sting on a crying face. Some people seem to think they can do whatever they like.
Some people seem to think they can say whatever they like, you know, Skate. Sorry, you're right. Of course I didn't eat it. Next time you make a quip like that, I'll make you eat your words. Then you'll be needing some dental surgery yourself. All right, I get the message. I bet it was the sergeant and the antiques dealer. Nosa-san and Korekata-san. You addle-brained idiot! I had my own regulation beefsteak set before me at my own table. And as any soldier worth his salt will tell you, seize whatever rations are put in front of you. Seem you may need to reconsider your answer, Counsel. Of course, Your Excellency. The victim himself, obviously. What? Nosuke, come on. Pull yourself together. The victim couldn't have been eating at the time. You just told the court that yourself. Oh, yes. Of course. I thought it didn't sound quite right. Look, you've even stunned the judge with that ludicrous answer. All right then, I can use his state of shock to give me time to think and come up with the right answer. I suggest you think it through more carefully and try not to shock him in the first place. You're right. Sorry. The person eating at the steak at the victim's table is... Obviously, it can only be someone else who is sitting at the professor's table. Am I able to see... No, I'm not.
Objection!
Objection! You will not let this go, will you? There was no such person.
Yes!
Yes. There was, because I saw her. When the incident occurred, we know the victim couldn't have been eating anything. Yet we have evidence of a half-eaten steak on his table. Therefore, the only logical conclusion is that somebody else was there eating it. We have strong evidence to support our assertion. It's clear that these witness testimonies are unreliable. If the court decides to push through a ruling at this stage, we will lodge a formal complaint with the Ministry of Justice and pursue a fair retrial, relentlessly.
Are you insane? You would take on the government?
Don't worry, Counsel. I have no issue with you.
What do you mean?
I have issue with them, those two witnesses in the stand.
What?
What are you talking about? We have demonstrated with evidence that the victim was not alone. So, if it turns out now the two of you deliberately lied when giving your testimonies, obviously you'll be charged with perjury. Perjury? And, since this is a murder trial, he will also be deemed complicit in the killing.
Complicit in murder? No!
Hold it! Negative! There was no mention of this at the tactical meeting. I was just following orders.
That's right, as the man says. Just say you never saw the gentlewoman. That's what they, told us. Uh-oh.
What? Did you just say, Korekata-san?
No.
We're just following orders.
Now hold on, lad. I was,
Say you never saw the gentlewoman.
er,
When you say gentlewoman, do you mean you saw the victim with a lady from overseas? What?
Objection!
Objection! What is the meaning of all this? These witnesses gave false statements. Is this true, you pair?
Just one. Just one simple slip of the tongue. Order, order. Counsel, explain what's going on here. It's painfully clear now. You tried to prevent these witnesses from telling the truth.
Absolutely not. The prosecution knows nothing of this.
Then who's behind this? Who tried to make you keep your mouth shut?
Well,
That's classified. So you're prepared to be tried as a conspirator to this murder, are you? You wouldn't. This can't be happening. Nosuke, judging from the way they're reacting to this, I'd say they were sworn to silence by someone with considerable influence. However, I don't believe Aochi had any idea about it. What are you saying? I mean, to wield that kind of influence, there are only a handful of possibilities. It could only have been the government, the military, or the police, I suppose. Well, any ideas about who might be behind this? If we can affirm we tried to silence these witnesses, then we can continue our pursuit. So we need to name whoever it was who tried to make the witnesses keep their mouths shut. Of course, we'll need evidence before we can make any firm accusations. Evidence that proves whoever it was really did wield his or her power here. But how? How can we possibly? Remember how we made progress before? Before, we examined this piece of evidence in more detail and found a new clue as a result. Oh yes, that's right. Well, that's not the only piece of evidence we have, is it? We need to re-examine everything and make sure there's nothing we've missed. There's no time to lose. I want answers. If it's proven that these witnesses have been manipulated, I assure you the penalty will be severe.
please wait. Your Excellency, I had no idea about any of this. I swear to every Shinto god. I knew nothing.
And what does the defense have to say about all this,
Well, Your Excellency,
no time to think. I'm just gonna have to close my eyes and shout out the first name that comes into my head. So we're gonna have to call the waiter to give us one. Besides the prosecution, the only person with the necessary influence to manipulate the witnesses. What? What? The police, the government, or the military? Okay, this is where we say Kazuma, right? I personally don't think it makes sense for it to be him. He does have some influence. He's a professor, but he's not police, government, or military. It's not him. It doesn't make sense. The victim is dead.
the head waiter of the European-style restaurant Le Carnaval. He was serving there on the day of the incident. The necessary influence. But he helped me get to this point. Where is this trial going? Could it be Kazuma? If it's Kazuma, he's been assisting me this whole trial, even this bit last now. Okay, maybe when he said, "Oh, do it for yourself," and like he actually got us to state our own objection, he was hoping that we'd fuck up. But no, it just doesn't make sense. He wanted me to defend myself. Why? For Kazuma's sake, because it's his student. And to get me declared guilty. Person with necessary influence. Keyword influence, right? Let's go back at the record. Delululil. Delululil. Authority in forensic medicine. Influence. Authority, influence. This guy, where's his influence?
Yes!
Yes! There! What do you make of that?
I think, Counsel, you may want to close your ears as well as your eyes. Otherwise, the size of disappointment in the courtroom may very well deafen you.
As you feel you must close your eyes in a time of crisis, might I suggest you keep your mouth shut next time too? Otherwise, I may have to use the influence I have in this courtroom to shut it permanently.
Oops.
I don't know what it is about that prosecutor exactly, but he really makes me wince in pain sometimes.
Wow, Winston Payne. I don't have a great deal of influence myself. But believe me, I can find other ways to make you keep your mouth shut as well. Right, don't get angry. I'll think again. There must be a clue in all that evidence in the court record. Ah, the symbol of Umaya University. Every student wears this pin with pride. It's funny, but most emblems seem to be either round or rectangular. I like this spiked design, even though it doesn't really make any sense. Although, it does cause problems. Lots of students end up cutting their fingers on their badges. Perhaps it was the idea of one of the founders. A sharp pin for a sharp mind or something. Personal student number is engraved on the back here. If you lose your pin, they won't accept you as a UMI student at the university. You may not come in, they say. Good one. I didn't... wow, that's such a good, like, obscure pun, but... You may. Of course, you can get a new pin made if you can just tell them your number. I've actually lost mine twice already. But I still don't know my student number by heart. I always say to myself, I mustn't forget to write it down somewhere. But then I forget not to forget that. Is that like 000901? Come on, man. You can remember that. Oops. Was it the victim himself? Why can't it be the victim himself? The waiter. It's the waiter. Come on, Alex. Don't be stupid. There might be some pieces of evidence I haven't thoroughly examined yet. Like what? Dude, like what? Like what, dude? The waiter. How does the waiter have fucking authority, though?
Yes!
Yes. Well, surely that would be Satoru Hosonaga-san. Hosonaga-san. Hosonaga-san? The waiter who took the stand earlier.
Objection!
Objection! Poppycock. What possible reason would the waiter have to make these witnesses give false testimony? Not to mention the fact that even a head waiter could not possibly have that level of influence.
Exactly, ouchie. Wait. People? Him? There's something about the way he looks that gives a hint? He's not wearing like any of the symbols that we see. For once, I agree with you. If that is, and truly were a waiter. I was supposed to know this somehow.
What? If he truly were.
Come on, Ryunosuke. Time to hit this court with the truth. The truth about Satoru Hosonaga-san's real identity, as proven by this evidence.
Oh, I'm so dumb. You can turn it. Oh, fucking hell, I'm so dumb. I did the Ace Attorney 1 case 2 thing. I didn't look at the back of the receipt.
Well, that's unexpected. What is? Look, do you see it says the witness's name here? Satoru Hosonaga? Yes, business cards do tend to show the person's name. That's sort of the point. Well, a name that's unexpected. It's his job title. His job? Oh, Chief Inspector Satoru Hosonaga. Primary Criminal Investigation Division. Imperial Police Bureau. Inspector? What on earth? I have no idea. Let's face it, the police have a lot of power and influence. They're wielding it somehow here.
Fucking so bad, so bad. How did I not think? No, press R.
Yes!
Plan of the restaurant sketched by the man in question. I agree, it shows a great deal of attention to detail. I'm not sure we conclude anything. Sorry, Your Excellency. That's the back of the card. It's the back of the card of interest. The back of the back, also known as the front. I beg your pardon. Or perhaps I should have said the front. Yes, it's the front of the back of the card. That's where the telling detail is. Would somebody please explain what this overexcited student is trying to say? Well, Sonaga-san sketched the plan of the restaurant on the reverse side of this business card. The front of that business card reveals the man in question's profession, his true profession. His waiter's profession, but that's surely... Good gracious. That's right, Your Excellency. The card reads, Chief Inspector, Primary Criminal Investigation Division, Imperial Police Bureau.
What? The waiter is a police detective? I haven't heard any mention of this before. Why haven't I heard any mention of it before?
The Imperial Police Bureau has immense power, absolute power, as far as civilians are concerned. So, witnesses there, in the stand. Was it in fact the waiter who gave you your orders? Was it he who told you not to mention that you'd seen the foreign gentlewoman at the scene? Well... Hold it. Hold it! Inspector Hosonaga!
You never know which syllable to emphasize in Japanese words. Don't they, like, always emphasize the last syllable like the French do? I don't know. That would be a very interesting coincidence. So probably not. I was worried something like this may happen. I'm gonna give him that voice now. He deserves it. The moment you asked me to submit my sketch as evidence, I realized it was a possibility.
The court will take this plan and add it to the court record as evidence.
Well...
Is there a problem? Add the plan to the court officer at once.
Of course. Here you are.
Yes, I remember now. He did act strangely when the judge asked him to hand over his business card.
I strive to carry out all investigations flawlessly. It's my guiding principle. But I let myself be distracted when I made that sketch. It was an unusually careless mistake.
So, you mean to say you really are a detective?
Why would a detective be working at a restaurant as a restaurant waiter? Of course. Your salary must be terrible.
I was working undercover.
Undercover?
Yes. There have been a series of incidents at the restaurant recently. In order to investigate, I decided to get a job there as a waiter, working undercover.
Incidents at the restaurant? What kind of incidents?
That would be classified police information. I'm not at liberty to divulge. However, I can state categorically they are unrelated to this case of homicide.
Very well then, Inspector Hosonaga. But you will elaborate on one point for the court.
Of course, Your Excellency.
We have just heard new information from the two witnesses beside you. That at the time of the shooting, there was in fact another person present at the victim's table. If that is indeed true, clearly you would have also have been aware of this person's presence, having served the table in question. However, your testimony did not allude to this other diner. Therefore, I am led to assume that in your professional capacity as a police officer, you required these witnesses to be in agreement. Would that be correct?
Correct, Your Excellency.
Unbelievable! As I suspected.
Bang. As soon as I heard the gunshot, I ran out of the kitchen to see what had happened. The victim sat slumped in his chair, and beside him, gun in hand, stood the accused student. Sitting opposite the victim at the same table was a young lady. I'm guessed to be an Englishwoman.
So the truth comes out.
He immediately sealed off the restaurant and reported the incident to the bureau. It was then that I received some special orders.
Special orders? You mean to say?
Remove the Englishwoman from the scene at once. It was made clear that the Englishwoman's presence at this restaurant was to be concealed. Those were my orders.
But what if this Englishwoman was the killer?
I think it would be everyone's best interests not to pursue that idea. The Empire views the friendly terms of its relationship with Britain more highly than anything at the moment. An Englishman has been murdered on our soil. To name an English woman as the primary suspect, well, without irrefutable evidence, that would be completely out of the question.
So that's the reason for the disappearance of the Phantom Woman in this case. But it's not right. One possibility does spring to mind. Do you mean, Kazuma? My university is currently hosting a number of exchange students from Great Britain, and I'm fairly certain that one of them, studying in the medical faculty's research laboratory, is a young Englishwoman. What?
You're a shrewd man. I can see why you're the chosen candidate for the overseas study tour.
You mean?
When I removed the woman from the scene of the crime, I thought it prudent to check her identity first.
The court demands that you name the lady in question at once, Inspector.
The Englishwoman sitting at the university professor's table, a certain Miss Giselle Brett. She is indeed a foreign student studying in the research laboratory of my university's medical faculty.
What is happening here?
I admit that under the orders from the police bureau, I erased all evidence of this lady's presence from the scene, and ordered these witnesses to make no mention of her in their testimonies. It must now be up to your Excellency to decide how to deal with this situation.
Very well. My thoughts on the matter are as follows. Thus far, the case presented to the court has been underpinned by a particularly critical premise. Namely, that the victim was dining alone. However, as we have now discovered in this premise is false, it would be a desecration of our justice system to ignore the truth and give a ruling at this point.
Objection!
Objection? But, Your Excellency, that would mean that missing the noon deadline of a ruling in order to send the telegraphic report to Great Britain. Our own government will surely be very displeased by such actions.
Calm yourself, Counsel. I will not allow the government of our country or any other to influence the proceedings of my courtroom. Inspector Hosonaga.
Yes, sir.
You will locate this Giselle Brett and escort her.
Giselle Brett. Giselle. Giselle Brett.
Escort her to the courtroom with the utmost urgency.
At once, Your Excellency.
But that means you'll be going against the special orders that you've been given from the police bureau.
As I said before, it is my guiding principle to carry out all investigations flawlessly.
So, it won't be a problem.
Nothing will get in my way.
Court will adjourn briefly. The prosecution must call the English student, Gazelle Brett, to the witness stand. Do I make myself clear?
Yes. Your Excellency!
Good. Then we will have a 30-minute recess before reconvening.
What a perfect point to end the stream on a to be continued. Fantastic. Don't start. Fuck's sake, come on. Supreme Court of Judicature Defendants Antechamber 5. Back to title. Save. Yes. There we go. Well, there you go. There's the first two streams and the first to be continued in my playthrough. That will be the end of the stream. See you next time. Good night.